If it hurts, James breaks, no hits, you know it up, put on more steam. Protect our kickers, our quarterback, our lead, our ball game. All obstacles, block, cut, sides, 2 games after this win it. First year again, we're here for the first man. Can everybody keep it every 6 minutes?
Rocky Top! You'll always be.
99% of the people in this world want to be great. Would you agree with that? Yeah, they're called wannabes. 1% work to be great. Drop the mic on that.
To be the man, you gotta beat the man, and I'm saying, woo, right here.
I've said it from when I got here. The expectation, the standard is to play elite defense here, not just good defense. This is the home of Eric Berry, Al Wilson, Reggie White. The standard is to be elite.
I know everybody thinks it's cliche, but, I truly believe in my heart, that we all are blessed just to have the opportunity to be at the University of Tennessee. We've had some guys in the past that always felt like Tennessee was blessed to have us, and that's not the case, So these guys, I think they're believing in what we're doing, how we're doing things, that they understand is bigger than us as individuals. It's bigger than me as Coach G. It's bigger than Coach Banks. It's bigger than Coach Eck. It's bigger than any one of them. It begins with the T and ends with the T.
Tony Swanson says, SJD, will you ever go back on the Talkin VAWLS network?
Ooh, I like Talkin VAWLS. I think that's Boogie Bentley running the show over there, man. He's awesome at what he does. We actually were trying to get on his show during their stream for charity. Ended up not happening just by nature of the schedules conflicting. But yeah, absolutely we'll make that happen here in the near future. Boogie does an awesome job, and they do an awesome job over there on that platform. So yeah, without question. Without question.
Mean! Woo! My God! Gene!
Do you remember when we fell in love? I remember, don't worry. Do you remember? I remember how it all began. How could I ever forget? It's the first time. Do you remember? I can feel it. I can feel it. I can feel it coming in the air now. I can feel it. I can feel it. I can feel it. It's coming in the air now. Oh, no. We fell in love. You remember how could I ever forget? You remember oh, no. We fell in love. You remember how could I ever forget? Coming in the air now.
Good Wednesday evening. Welcome to the Talkin VAWLS Network. My name's Boogie Bentley, joined by Coach Jay, Coach Rice. It's a good evening. It is a good evening to talk a little of all Cruton, little Cruton talk going down. I think Coach Rice may be more excited than anybody else in the chat. Coach Rice, you got some stuff you want to talk about tonight, don't you? I can tell. I can see it.
I'm so hyped. I told Boogie earlier, man. I've been looking forward to this all the last 2 days, man. But knowing we getting to come on and talk some recruit.
It's like I've been telling people for months. June, man, when June rolls around, we're gonna be ready to rock and roll. We're gonna fire it on all cylinders. We're gonna have so much to talk about in the first 2 weekends. June, we're very slow and boring. But guess what? Tennessee backloaded the back half. Coach Jay, what do you think about the strategy to kind of backload? June 14th, June 21st is really when the heavy hitters going to be in town. Have an opportunity to close.
Yeah, there's something to be said for going last and closing, right? There's a reason the home team hits second and the away team hits first, right? There's an advantage to going last, to having that last say. And it puts the burden of proof of the program on Tennessee, right? That we're the last ones to sell, and we got to let them know, hey, you just went and saw all these amazing programs, right? You went and saw Alabama, you went and saw Georgia, you went and saw Miami, you went and saw insert whoever, and now you're at Tennessee, right? So what separates Tennessee from those programs that you just saw is the pitch that these coaches have to make, and they have to sell it, right? I mean, at the end of the day, they got to practice those ABCs. They got to always be closing on that trail, and it's time to get paid, right? There's a lot of big time recruits on this board that are coming into town, and the proof's going to be in the poison. We always say that. I know every single Tennessee fan out there just has an extremely high expectation of what this football program can be. Everyone in this chat and everyone sitting across from me on camera feels the same way about that, and we're going to hold them to a high level expectation. So looking forward to it, looking forward to seeing what we can do, and excited to get some more recruiting done.
We got a lot to get into tonight. First and foremost, we got a commitment from earlier today that we're going to jump into and talk about. We got an offensive lineman, 4-star Nick Moore, is coming off the board later tonight. He's going to make his decision at 8 p.m. Eastern time. It doesn't look good for the Vols, but we're going to talk about it, and we're going to maybe talk about why he's not coming to Tennessee. And then we got a massive weekend of official visits coming up for Tennessee this weekend. I think it's like 20-some guys. You got David Sanders, Caleb Cunningham, Jamie French. You got all kinds of talent. George McIntyre is going to be here peer recruiting. Ethan Utley is going to be here peer recruiting. But we're going to get into all of that. But do us a favor right out of the gate. We're well over 100 already. Make sure you guys smash the thumbs up. Share this link out. Put it on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Let MySpace know. Go to MySpace. Sign in. Change your top 8. Put Coach Jay, Coach Rice, and myself right up there in your top 8. Make Rocky Top your song. Make it your song. I think that's what you should do. If I could remember my MySpace password, that's what I would do. But we would appreciate you guys sharing it out. And then don't forget, we're going live tonight, next Wednesday, and the Wednesday after that, because recruiting is going to be hot and heavy. So we're going to talk about it every Wednesday night, 7 p.m. Eastern time. Another quick announcement. Some of you guys are a little bit excited about a certain college football game coming back for the first time in God knows how long. Over 10 years, EA Sports College Football 2025 is dropping in July. A lot of you guys said, hey, I want to be in your dynasty, Boogie. I want to play with you guys. Well, you're going to have the opportunity to do that. I finally sat down, worked it out. We're going to be launching a Patreon. We're going to do that on Tuesday, June 18th. That's next Tuesday while I'm live on the NCAA stream at 7 p.m. Eastern time. We are going to launch the Patreon. It is limited. It is limited to 28 people. That's it. You're going to have the opportunity to play with myself, Coach Jay, Coach Rice. I don't know if the X Factor has a PS5, but, I kind of sold it. I was like, imagine this. Imagine the Florida Gators are coming to town. Tennessee's undefeated. We're going to go beat the Gators in Neyland Stadium. You just so happen to be playing Coach Jay that week on the EA Sports College Football Dynasty. Guess who's going to be on a headset talking to you for an hour while you guys play video games? That's how we continue to build this community. I think it's going to be a fun opportunity. That's going to be next Tuesday, 7 p.m. That Patreon page is going live. Let's run down the chat. Let's see who's hanging out. Shane Mountain was here bright and early, says, let's bring him home. Bring home. This setup is killing me. It's killing me. Everything's in a different place. The camera is in front of the monitor, so I can't see half the monitor over here. We got to figure this out. Arkansas Ball was here. William is in the house. What's up, William? It is good to see you in the chat. Brad is here and says, Sko Balls. Ashley Allen was here. Says, long time no see. It's good to see you back in the chat, my friend. Fish and Beans is here. Says, howdy, howdy. Memphis Ball says, Nick Moore is committing tonight. That may be a question. We're going to get into it in just a little bit. Barrett Ridley is here, says, let's go Vols. Jeff is here. What's up, Jeff? Vintage Creative is here, says, what is up, Boogie? It is good to see you. Dakota Calfee says, what's up, Boogie? Man, you guys aren't even here. You guys aren't even on the show. Speaking of Dakota, member for 9 months, about to give birth to his little tiny Talkin VAWLS baby. Shout out Dakota for the support. If you're not a member, you can fix that. Hit that join button. We would appreciate it. All right, let's get into it. Let's talk some Cruton. Tennessee got a commitment earlier today. Depending on where you look, actually, spoiler alert, the On3 industry rankings just bumped. Jaden Lofton is now a 4-star, and he is just outside the top 300. That is interesting. Did you guys know that?
No, I did not.
That's
No.
just since this morning. I was going to show that, but let me switch it over and show you guys the On3 profile. Check that out. I mean, he committed, what, 11 o'clock this morning? So he is now bumped to a 4-star according to the industry rankings and 313th nationally, just outside the On 300. I don't think we're ever going to have a problem recruiting guys at the edge position. 6'4", 235 out of New Jersey, took into practice back in the spring. Officially visited last weekend. AP says he's trending. Chad Simmons puts in an expert prediction. AP rolls out the gift. Guess what? We wake up. We got a commitment. Coach Rice, what'd you think about this one? Shout out to Mrs. Agamoro for being in the chat. It is good to see you hanging out with us tonight. What'd you think, Coach Rice, when you saw this commitment? What do you think about him as a player?
Hey, momentum, man. It's huge momentum going into these next 2 weekends on the recruiting side of things. Him as a player, hey, it's a spot. It's a priority spot. Edge, D tackle, offensive line, and Q quarterback are your priority spots. Those are, you can mold around it, but those are the priority spots where you cannot be, okay at. You have to have elite guys, and especially in the SEC. And this guy is a guy that's trending up. I think with a great senior season, he could keep moving up. As you can see, he just got another ratings lift. In fact, I think when I looked at him yesterday or the other day, he has actually 88 point something. So he's got a full point up. He's got a 4-star now by the industry. I think at some point he'll be 4 stars across the board. Very quick, very athletic. That's what Coach G recruits on the edge, man. You see, I mean, it's James Pierce 2.0 when you talk about body type and athleticism. This is what this dude brings, and it's a guy that maybe put on some little muscle body once he gets on a college campus, could flip over to the other side at the strong side defensive end. And that's what we love. We love versatility. We love guys we can flip all over the defensive line, cause chaos, especially in pass rush situations. So I'm going to let Coach Jay handle the rest of the defensive breakdown on him. But this dude, I think, is a legit get. And so, like I said, the biggest part of it is momentum going into these 2 massive weeks going forward.
Yeah. I mean, I could just piggyback on everything you just said, right? Very apt rundown by Coach Rice there. Athletic, great pass rush. He's got a lot of moves in his bag. Is something you notice about him when you pop through his film. Some of those moves could be refined a little, but once again, we got Coach G. We got the best coach on the planet to refine some of those moves. But can possibly slide inside depending on the weight he puts on. I think he's got the frame for it a little more than someone like a Davion Bradley that ended up moving out of position, out of time. But someone who can, stunt inside, that can run cross pop blitz packages, in his current frame could drop into coverage. A kid that can get up. He's got some ups. He can jump. You'll see him bat down balls. You'll see him drop into coverage in different films of his. A kid you can put on special teams. I like to call them the tough guys only that sit there on those special teams, but he can certainly do that. Yeah, here you see him doing the inside, kind of like a loop around stunt, cross pop, call it in my scheme. Gets the tip and gets the ball. You see him spike the ball right there. You see him block it on this special teams play right here. On the next play after this, they'll be in a 3-3-5 set against a pistol, and you'll see him drop a little shoulder and then swim through. I'd like to see that rip, that dip and rip on that initial punch. Just a little bit harder though, Coach. Just drop that inside shoulder, because when I drop that shoulder, the offensive lineman reaches. When that offensive lineman reaches, that's when I can rip through their arm. When you reach, I teach as a defender, right? So it's just kind of defining those little things. But if you saw when he got up on that play, he let him know about it. And there's several plays right here, guys. I think we got a kid with a little bit of dog in him. And as any Tennessee fan knows, I love me a Jawan Jennings. You know, I love me a player with a little bit of dog in him. And Mr. Jaden Lofton certainly fits that bill. He can get you in a hurry from that position. Needs to play a little lower in the shoot as a defender, but once again, who can't out of the high school ranks?
Elite speed and athleticism is the big two things that you just see glaring on that film. When you just give him to Coach G, let him do some work with him, like you said, Coach J, look out. I mean, James Pierce 2-point. He's got the same body as just a little bit shorter, but same when coming out of high school, same body type. I mean,
I think that's the key coming out of high school, right? 6'4", 230,
Yeah.
235. A lot of times we see these edge rushers coming out of high school, they're like 205, right? 210. They need to put on some weight, which is, and this ain't me talking. This is people in the comments. Particularly Wayne Starnes was commenting, talking about how he kind of, same thing Coach Jay said, thinks he ends up as a weak side defensive end, or maybe even, he could slide inside and play defensive tackle if he adds enough weight. We'll see how it plays out. We were having an interesting conversation off air that I want to kind of throw in right here, and then we'll jump in a little bit more, deep dive a little bit more a little bit later. But when Jaden Lofton got into the boat, he became the 11th commit in the class of 2025. Coach Rice, you were talking about numbers. You're talking about a numbers game. What were you? Explain to the chat what you were talking about before we went live.
All right, so you only have so many roster spots as far as scholarships available. And with the violations Tennessee's going through, the consequences of what we had to go through, the two scholarships per year. So it limits us to how many we can take on. And you also got to think about you have to save some spots for the transfer portal. So we got 11 guys. I'm looking at maybe at most 24. 23 is the number I'm looking at. The amount of guys that Tennessee has the availability to bring onto the roster. You really can't go more than that, because then you're taking away key valuable transfer portal spots, and to improve the spots on your roster that you've seen Tennessee do, where they can plug and play, and on spots where we may need a little pickup from the transfer portal. So you can't just go out and say, hey, why can't we go get this guy? Why can't we go get this guy? Well, this is what you're seeing a couple of these guys being told it's a business decision. I mean, I'm sorry. We'd love to have you, but we only got so many numbers we can have. And that this may be a couple things what we've seen in the last few weeks. And it's something that I really have to take in, because I get frustrated just like anybody. Why are we telling these guys that we don't want you to come visit? Derek Meadows being one of my big ones that I was like, why? And Marcus Harris, why are they not something that we could kind of bring on, even though they're two wide receiver spots and we're loaded there? But that's the reason why, because we got a loaded room. And then you got three guys that more than likely you're going to bring in. So the numbers, you only have so many, and we got 11 guys looking at maybe bringing in 12 to 13 more guys. That's why you see what you see.
I'm going to change the format on you guys. We're going to come back and talk about Nick Moore. He's scheduled to commit at 8 p.m. Eastern time. We are going to be covering that. We're going to be talking about Nick Moore in just a second, but I want to kind of continue this conversation just because it came up about the numbers game. Shout out, by the way, to Memphis Ball. Drops a $2 super chat. We appreciate that, Dorothy. We appreciate that donation to the channel. So shout out Memphis Ball. We appreciate you, brother. Did I call him Memphis? Did I call him Memphis Ball? Shout out Carrick 2071 for being in the chat. What's up, Tip Jackson? Good to see you guys here. And don't pick on Retro. DJ Haney, don't pick on Retro. Retro's part of the family, man. He's a paying customer, DJ Haney. But I don't see a power T beside your name. You can fix that by hitting the join button. It's right beside subscribe for $1. For $1. Retro pays us $1 every single month.
$1.
$1. 9 times. 9 times. All right, let's talk a little bit about the numbers game, and I gotta do this to you, Coach. I gotta do it to you. This is what kind of sparked the conversation. This goes back to a tweet from Coach Rice. Go give him a follow, VFL Coach Rice 8. He says, "Boogie, I am back on the pissed off side of things," and the conversation we've been having is, the highs and lows of recruiting. Shady Hayward, Onis Conan Banny, Charles House all love themselves from Tennessee. Shady Hayward takes the official to Georgia. He says Georgia's now the leader. Then he takes a visit to South Carolina. They're now the leader. Conan Banny goes to Florida State. He went from saying Tennessee was the clear-cut leader to now Florida State's the clear-cut leader. Charles House, a guy that has loved Tennessee for a long time, goes to Alabama, then goes to Georgia, and now all of a sudden we got a big boy battle on our hands. Jalen Matthews just committed to Rutgers. Ballquist kind of put out the narrative that Tennessee at offensive tackle, they're happy with what they've got. They are happy with the progress of Bennett Warren, Gage Ginther, a couple of true freshmen. They're happy with Jeremiah Hurd, who's moved from defense to offense. And I keep reminding people, you got to remember, Lance Hurd is only a sophomore. That is a legitimate 5-star elite offensive tackle, an SEC tackle. So does this coaching staff feel confident that they're going to go land David Sanders? And it says their focus is more on the interior. Guys like Jacoby Ward, Nick Moore, Douglas Utu. You've already got Anthony Agamoro in the boat. You're working on Josh Petty. Had a great visit this past weekend. Did you move the needle enough? And then, kind of blending it into the wide receivers like Coach Rice was just talking about. You tell Derek Meadows, we don't need your visit. Cam Sparks is not a take. Marcus Harris, now you can see the tweet that sent Coach Rice here off the edge. He's not Tennessee's not even in the top. Coach Jay, I just puked a lot of knowledge at you. What are your thoughts on the numbers game and just the overall grand scheme of things, offensive line, wide receiver position?
Yeah, right. Where do I pick up there? It's just that, guys. Listen, it's a numbers game. I mean, it's that simple. You only got so many spots, and at the end of the day, right, you want to cast a wide net, and you want to pull as many close to the boat as you can. But when you get those crabs on the boat, you got to measure them and figure out which ones you're taking ashore with you to sell at market, right? At the end of the day. So those coaches know what they have. They've got a good feeling of where they are at this point. We're getting a little later in the cycle, and you want to keep a couple spots fluid. Also, that's something you got to remember, like Coach Rice said. You got the transfer portal. You've got late bloomers. You've got those occasional Arian Carters that are going to pop up in your class. You have your occasional junior college guys that are going to pop into that class. And so when you see guys, like Marcus Harris is a good example, Matthews, who fell off the board. These are high quality athletes. I mean, you look at that Oregon, you look at that Georgia sign, you look at UCLA. These are all good kids out there, right? So, and good schools that they have the ability to go to. But at the end of the day, does it make sense in our numbers, in what we're doing in our class? That's what you have to entrust these coaches with. And if someone like Marcus Harris was told, hey, listen, you need to make a choice now or there's not room because we know what's coming, then, those decisions are being made right now. It's why you see certain people going to smaller schools is because it's happening at other places, a certain offensive tackle had other big choices on there. He took the small choice. Did he really love that choice? Or was it numbers starting to bear the fruit that they were showing throughout the process? That tends to be what happens here. Now, once again, it's going to come down to what we actually get in the boat on how we view this at the end of the day, right? Did the coaches play their hand properly, or did they get stuck with too many cards?
Yeah, that's the big question for me. By the way, Memphis Ball with a member chat, been a member for 12 months. Appreciate all that support. Brother says, been here longer, but I went broke. It's all good. Don't ever join the channel or drop a super chat if you're not in a good spot. It's all good. Come hang out. Everything we do here is free. Nothing's behind a paywall other than EA Sports College Football 25 is going to be behind a paywall. So we appreciate the support, Memphis Ball. You're always here anytime the red light's on. You notice something, Coach Rice? I don't know if you look to the right side of the screen. It says relevant people. It says Coach Rice. It says Boogie Bentley.
Yeah.
I don't see Coach Jay over there with the relevant people. Do you?
I'm not relevant.
What is happening here? What's happening,
Coach Jay?
What is up with that?
I'm just hanging out, man.
Twitter just don't know what's up.
I'm semi-relevant.
Let's roll with what Coach Jay just said there, Coach Rice, because this was your tweet, and I know you're Memphis Ball with another $2. Appreciate you, brother. Thank you for the support. He's paying Jason's door fee, by the way. We were kind of talking about this off air, but you are playing a numbers game, and some kids are being told, hey, no, don't take this visit or don't come here. Jalen Matthews, again, like Coach Rice just said, you got Tennessee, Miami, and Georgia on your top three, but then you end up at Rutgers. Were you told no? We don't know. We're speculating. That's what fans do. But if that is what's happening, if it is a numbers game, if kids are being told, hey, we don't have a spot, or you either jump in now or don't jump in at all, what happens if you don't get David Sanders? When you look at wide receiver, that board is getting thinner and thinner and thinner. And yes, Caleb Cunningham and Jamie French are going to be here this weekend. I feel like those are a long shot. I feel like Travis Smith is kind of the guy that you're hoping. Does the coaching staff know something we don't? Maybe they do, maybe they don't. But what happens if you don't get those guys? How much pressure are you going to put on Josh Heupel at that point?
It's tough, man, and that's one thing. That's the reason why coaches get paid a lot, because, I mean, it's a tough profession. I mean, and it's getting harder every day, as we know, with the transfer portal and all this NIL stuff. So, I mean, the wide receiver position and the offensive line position, those are the two that we've seen the most. But you think about linebackers and safeties and cornerbacks. It's every position at different schools. It's just those are the two positions at Tennessee that we're like, we casted a wide net, like Coach Jay said, and we're seeing it kind of sprinkle down to where you only got this many choices now. Is David Sanders our must get? Yes. He's 100%. Our guy. He's without a doubt the cherry on top of the class, that if we get him, this class is looked at in a whole different narrative as if we don't land him. But you go look at Josh Petty, you go look at Travis Smith, Jamie French, Caleb Cunningham. If you miss out, like you were just saying, if you miss out on all five of those guys, and it's a possibility, guys. I mean, do we think David Sanders is a lean to Tennessee? Yes. Do we think we've got some momentum with Josh Petty and Travis Smith? Yes. But that does not guarantee we're getting them. And if we don't land those, there's going to be some harsh, intense, fan-sided pressure on Josh Heupel, because there's no way, there's no getting around it. That class, if we don't land any of those guys, this class will not be a top 20 class. And I at the end of it, and I wrote down on the bottom of my notes, we have to, for Tennessee to be relevant in the recruiting side of it and to have continued long-lasting success, we have to average, me personally, we have to average being at least 8th nationally every year. Average. This is average. 8th nationally every year in recruiting, and at least 5th in the SEC. That means, because there's 16 teams now in the SEC, you're up in the upper tier of the SEC recruit. If you're back down where we are right now in 8th and 9th year to year, you're in trouble, because you're behind Georgia's, the Alabamas. Unfortunately, I hate to say it, the Texases, the Texas A&Ms. That it's just, you have to take advantage of these recruitment classes, that when you got the number one quarterback or top 3 quarterback in the nation in your state, and you got him locked up early in the recruiting class, you got to take advantage of that. I mean, it's point blank that you have to. And I think David Sanders is the biggest get in the last 3 classes, other than Nico, that I think this will just compound momentum if we do land him.
Let me hit this super chat real quick. David Rich drops a 20 spot. That's Orange Boy. We'll play the clip.
Rocky Top!
David doesn't have anything to say, just a tip in the tip jar. We appreciate that, David. Thank you for the support of the channel, my man. Let's talk a little bit about Josh Petty, because he's a guy, and we talk about how Tennessee being backloaded, right? And you're getting some of these big, heavy hitters on campus at the end. And that's why Shady Hayward, I still feel confident about Tennessee. Charles House, he's going to be in town this weekend. He's going to make his decision on the 22nd. We're going to be covering that live right here on the Talkin VAWLS Network. So when Charles House makes that decision, come hang out with the diehard psychotic cult of the Talkin VAWLS Network. Onus Conanbanny, again, late visit. I like that. Josh Petty, Coach Jay. I just started to say coach, but you're both coaches. Coach Jay, Josh Petty, we got the opposite, right? He came in town. Here's, you can see the quote there on the screen. They showed me what kind of priority I am and how special this school is. Tennessee got the visit. They moved the needle. Austin Price has gone as far as saying if he was deciding right now, I think Tennessee gets him in the boat. Florida State gets that last visit. I think David Sanders is the key to the class. I feel good about it. I think Josh Petty is how you take this class from a top 10 to a top 5.
It's the line of scrimmage league. You're talking about 2 5-star offensive linemen that you can pair right next to each other that you can possibly plug in as, depending on how they pan out in the weight room when they jump in as, possible freshman starters, really. But that remains to be seen. I think Tennessee, kind of like you were alluding to earlier, Boogie, I think they like what they have in Bennett Warren. I think they like what they have in a guy like Sham. I think some of these players a little further along than we might give them credit to. They were kept out to a degree last year, and you saw people like Ollie Lane and Dane Davis's and people like this in the backup in lieu of that old model, right? That Butch Jones model, that Jeremy Pruitt model of, hey, let's play that shiny new object of a freshman right away. Let's stick him out there on the mound against Kenny Griffey Jr. and see if he can get out a couple strikeouts. Well, the Southeastern Conference isn't a very forgiving place to stick a freshman offensive lineman, right? They'll get their lunch eaten real quick. So I'm in favor of taking your time and developing those kids, and to make the leap that they all weren't ready based on the fact that they didn't play as freshmen, I think is a little slippery of a slope, right? Like making that leap that Nico wasn't ready because we didn't see him as a freshman. I think we all learned really quickly, and that bowl game was a gigantic leap. And I think the same can be said for this offensive line. But I like what we're building at offensive line. We're doing it a little methodically, and we haven't had that perfect class. But if you sprinkle in these transfers and then recruiting the guys on campus, I think we've done just a fine job on the offensive line personally.
All right, hold on. We got some breaking news here. Let me hit Twitter real quick. This is interesting. This is what I was talking about at the top of the show when we were talking about Nick Moore. Austin Price of VolQuest was being very, very interesting with his comments about this thing. Nick Moore, 4-star offensive lineman, was scheduled to make his decision tonight. Now let's walk through it. Nick Moore, in-state kid out of Jefferson County, 6'2.5", 290. He's a 4-star prospect just outside the top 300. He's a guy that, he was around David Sanders. And this is why I feel so confident about David Sanders. When you're talking about peer recruiting, a lot of the stuff you read is that David Sanders is leading these guys to Tennessee. And it's like, well, hold on a second. Y'all know something I don't know. Is David Sanders already committed? Like, why are we talking about David Sanders leading guys into the boat? So he was in town with David. They were there together for 865 Live. And then it came out that he was going to be making his decision tonight. I'm like, what a great segue for us. We're going to be live tonight anyway. We can talk about Nick Moore. He's coming to Tennessee. He's trending to Tennessee, feeling the love. Everybody asks VolQuest. Austin Price says he's not going to be taking an official visit if he's committing tonight. He's supposed to officially visit next weekend. So if he's committing tonight, he's not going to be coming to Tennessee. He said West Virginia is recruiting him as a defensive lineman, and then he follows it up and says, "We'll see if he goes through with it tonight." And you guys are wondering why I'm saying, is he committing? Is what's happening? And, I saw It's Rome Baby. Shout out It's Rome Baby. He said that he saw that he was committing. Austin Price was asked, is he a take? Yes, he's a take. He says, when Tennessee loses out on David Sanders, then you guys can have your panic. Nick Moore has yet to commit anywhere. Let's see if it happens. Coach Rice, he said twice. He said twice in one thread, let's see if it happens tonight. Let's see if it happens. So here we got the breaking news. Nick Moore not going to be making his decision. He was supposed to commit 29 minutes after this tweet. What are your thoughts on that, Coach Rice?
I think it's big because that means he's going to come to take his visit. I guarantee you, guys like David Sanders got in his ears that, hey, what? Just take the visit, then make your decision after you see what Tennessee has to offer. I mean, if you want to go to West Virginia and be whatever a mountaineer is, and go be part of the non-defense Big 12, you could come to Tennessee and be part of something legendary. Do you think West Virginia's going to have a shot at a national title? No. Come to Tennessee. Come take the visit. Let's show you what a five-star program. Excuse the pun there, but let's see what we can build together. Don't rush into this decision. Come take your visit. Come hang out with George G. Mack, who's going to be your quarterback, and let's go win us a ship if you come to Tennessee. Because I'll go and tell you that's what David Sanders is telling you. David Sanders, it's been said they hit it off, and so I go and tell you he's been the one peer recruiting him, and I'll go and tell you Glenn Ellerby's been in his ear as well.
Breaking news: 17-year-old men are indecisive and fickle creatures, and you don't know what they're going to do half the time. A lot of times people don't realize what a success story it is to put 50 of them on the football field every weekend at a high school. It's quite an amazing thing, actually. But yeah, hey, listen, all these backroom texts are happening, right? They've been happening for a long time. This isn't the olden days where you maybe ran into a kid at a camp and you exchanged phone numbers. These kids all talk, man. These kids all text, whether they're answering that text or telling the truth when they're texting back, which happens a lot, guys. Listen, there's a lot of misinformation that gets spread amongst these recruits to not only media and other
people
recruits
that say they're not
YouTubers,
media,
people that say they're not media, they're just fans, like me and you. Look, there's all the above, right? So if we can hold them off and get them in orange, listen, that's going to be a great thing. But once again, it could be a result of a numbers thing. Just so many backroom moving parts. It's hard to shoot from the hip. It really is when it comes to recruiting. That's why you always say it's fluid and you never trust it till they're in the boat. And shoot, nowadays you got to run kind of a solid program to even keep them in the boat. But yeah, where was he going to commit to tonight? The
rumor was West Virginia because they were going to let him play defensive line, which is what he plays in high school. But I would imagine you probably play both in high school, right? You probably play defensive tackle, and then he plays, I'm assuming, guard, interior offensive line. But I think this is big, man. It's big. I'm glad we weren't doing a Nick Moore live commitment stream. That would have been the worst, the most disappointing letdown stream ever. But this is good. This is good news for Tennessee. Gives you an opportunity, again, going back to the offensive line, focusing more on the interior, looking to add someone in there with Anthony Agamoro. So we'll see what happens with Nick Moore, Douglas Utu, Jacoby Ward's another one that they're making a priority. So if you just popped in the chat, that is it. Nick Moore has delayed his decision, but guess what? Recruiting rolls on, and we got a big weekend of recruiting coming up, headlined by David Sanders. Let me share the screen and show you guys the list of guys that are going to be in town. I mean, you can scroll down. I don't know why it divides it up. I wish it would do it by weekend. Shows these guys coming in on Thursday. Damian Shanklin, Deshaun Brame's a big one that's right around the corner from a decision. Ethan Utley, again, going to be in town, peer recruiting. But obviously, oh, man, I'm struggling with my computer. Obviously, you roll up. Look at the headliners, man. Look at the headliners. And again, we're talking about turning away 4 stars. We're talking about telling Marcus Harris, hey, man, there's not room for you. We're talking about a 4-star in-state wide receiver in Cam Sparks, hey, there's not really room for you here. This is a good problem to have. And when you've got a guy like David Sanders, Caleb Cunningham, Jamie French, Isaiah Gibson, who is a USC commit, but a lot of buzz that he's going to be flipping to Georgia, but Tennessee's going to have their shot. They're going to get him on campus. When you look at the list, are you just going to – I mean, we've already really kind of talked about David Sanders. Y'all want to talk about David Sanders some more, or do you want to just pick somebody off the list, Coach Rice, and tell me who you want to talk about?
Mine is Caleb Cunningham. I think he's the guy that he's someone that he will take the high and run with it, because you've seen Mississippi State. The last week he went to Florida, said, hey, maybe they're my leader. You go show out and have a great weekend with this dude, look out. You may flip the script on Mississippi State and Florida, and Tennessee may come out of it with a lead. I think Jamie French is too much Texas or LSU. I just, of the 2 5-star wide receivers, I think he's the guy that I think we're more able to get. To me, what I've seen recently, according to Twitter and some websites.
So, all right. Welcome to the Coachin VAWLS Network, brought to you by Coach Jay and Coach Wright. Oh man, I thought we got rid of them finally.
I was laughing because I was trying to go back on Caleb Cunningham, go back to the on 3, the visitor list, and I'm like, yep, I just kicked myself off the show. So you guys, man, oh man, I got to get back.
I literally went, uh-oh.
No, it's funny because I was on StreamYard. You got to go to the right tab and click it. Let me catch up with Super Chats, and we're going to jump back into it. I hope I'm going to butcher this name. Pavel Novotny becomes a member of the channel. Appreciate that support. You guys can do the same for just $1 a month. We would appreciate it. Once we get into the season, probably around August, when August rolls around, we're going to open back up the fan call-in shows. Talkin VAWLS Elite and Higher. Those guys get the link, and gals. We've had the ladies take over a few times on those fan call-in shows. And look, you guys say, well, I don't know. Both of these dudes came on to Talkin VAWLS through the fan call-in show, and now I talk to them more than I do people that I say met in real life. I've met Coach Jay in real life. People that are my real-life friends. These two dudes are like brothers. You come on to a fan call-in show, you know what you're talking about. You went over the chat. Guess what? You'll find yourself right here beside me, Coach Jay, Coach Rice, talking a little Tennessee football. So shout out to all the members of the channel. We appreciate it. Jeff becomes a member, he drops a $5 super chat. Shout out, Jeff. Appreciate that support, brother. Rocky Top Tom is in the house. Appreciate the $5 super chat. Says, talking some Cruton. This is the year, y'all. It's got to be this year that we land the big fish across the board and we establish the new orange order. You know, I like the sound of that. We've got a Talkin VAWLS Elite shirt that we ripped off directly from AEW. I kind of like the new orange order. Maybe a new Talkin VAWLS shirt coming soon. Jamie Roberts been a member for 21 months. Shout out, Jamie. We appreciate that support, brother. Thank you for all the super chats. We got, what do we got? Oh, we got well over 200 people watching. That used to be a post-game show. Now 200 people want to come hang out and talk recruiting. I love it. These two dudes live for it. I live for it. I know you guys in the chat live for it. Again, we're going to be going live next Wednesday and the following Wednesday, 7 p.m. Eastern time, talking about all these big visitors that are coming into town. What about you, Coach Jay, when it comes to wide receiver? You know, Coach Rice mentioned Caleb Cunningham. Jamie French is going to be in town. I don't know that I have the confidence in those two guys. Again, I think we're looking at Travis Smith.
Yeah, that's who I feel we have the biggest odds to get. But of the 2 5-stars, I think Caleb Cunningham is the better.
And they'll both be here this weekend. So.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we get Smith is the answer. I think it is. Listen, I'm not ever too concerned with a hype at wide receiver. And I know I say that after a year where I might get a little pushback, right? After last year and what we saw at the wide receiver position. But I'm going to stick with it. I mean, I think if we throw the dart, hit a certain quarterback with another dart across the face, we can pin enough of that on him. And I'd be happy with our wide receiver and the way the offense clicked. But I like Smith. I think Rad Jackson is going to be awesome. You got Mike Matthews sitting there. I think we got a good evaluation on the other kid in the boat.
Braylon Staley.
Joakim Dotson and Braylon.
Oh,
Joakim
you're talking
Dotson.
25.
I'm talking
That's what
Dotson, but a good
okay.
point about Staley. Staley's a kid that stepped on campus and has turned out to be a beast. I mean, like, let's sit here and be honest with each other, guys. Caleb Webb put on some weight and size and looks good, right?
He
Look
looks
at our
great.
wide receiver room. Chaz Nimrod looks really, really good. Matthews is going to be a heart attack to keep off the field. Brandon Staley, from all accounts, is just an absolute home run. From what we got Squirrel White, Brew McCoy. Can we keep all the wide receivers we have on campus as of now? Does anyone in this group sit here and think that we're not going to have a wide receiver transfer out after the after the next session?
I don't know. Can they? Can
we'll
they go
get
after
one?
summer,
Can
or do they
they?
have to? I don't know that they can.
I don't
think
know
you-
if they can either. I'll be amazed if not one of them is transferred out by then. It just shows what Heupel is doing, I guess. But we all thought they would, and the reason we thought they would is because they all had good off seasons, and we're loaded at that position. So why should I be, extremely worried about it? I'm just not. I think we've got the talent there. Y'all know what I think of Nico. I think Nico's going to put up huge numbers this year. And when he does so, and we get Frazier in the boat as well, you're sitting there looking at 3 5-stars. I don't think that you're going to have any trouble getting a high quality wide receiver to come in and wide receivers in the boat after this year. I mean, I just don't see it being an issue for the Vols. And furthermore, I don't think the kids we're bringing in this year are an issue at all. I think Smith's a beast. I think Joakim Dotson's a beast. And I think Rad Jackson is everything Coach Rice has made him out to be. Shout out to him on that early evaluation, because that kid's going to be a nightmare to deal with. I mean, yeah. And then you got some development projects like Nathan Laycock that could end up being what we thought he was after time.
And they're young, right? That's the thing about this team. There's so much young talent, which is, again, going back to you talking about the portal. It's why it blows my mind that Caleb Webb, Chaz Nimrod, Nate Spillman. Like Nate Spillman, I was like just chalking it up. He's got to be hitting the portal. But again, I think it speaks volumes, like you said, to what Coach Heupel has built. And, you're going to have an opportunity to compete. We're going to play the best guys. So stay here, stick it out, develop, grow. And that's old school football that Nick Saban says wasn't here anymore. And I think Josh Heupel has found a way to balance NIL versus old school football and development and waiting your time. Man, I'm excited. Like, again, young guys. We're talking a lot about offensive line and wide receiver recruiting because Josh Petty, David Sanders, the wide receiver board. You got 2 5-star wide receivers that are going to be in town. That's why we're talking about it. But I think those are 2 positions. And again, like Coach Jay said, Bennett Warren. If you hit on that, man, if you hit on Bennett Warren, if you hit on Gage Ginther, you hit on Max Anderson, William Satterwhite, you got Lance Hurd, you land David Sanders. By some miracle, you get Josh Petty. All of a sudden, we got some studs on the offensive line. We got a room full of 5-star quarterbacks. Let Coach Rice go out there and run routes. He's going to be running free. That was the difference between 2022 and 2023. 2022, we had guys running free. Guess what? Some of those same guys were back on campus, and they were running free, and they weren't being hit. Right? Right? All right, tangent. Why'd you're a bad influence, Coach Jay. You make me throw darts. Let me catch up with the chat. Wes Marshall drops a $5 super chat. Appreciate that, brother. Thank you for the support. Also, Alex Bond becomes a member of the channel. Shout out to you members, man. Keep hitting that join button. We would greatly appreciate it. You guys keep the lights on around here, especially during the off season. Coach Rice, give me. You can either jump into the comments we're talking about, or you can piggyback, jump in, and pick another player, whoever you want to talk about that's going to be in town this weekend.
Well, I mean,
I know who Coach Jay wants to talk about. You better not say his name.
That's what he's talking about.
Wait. Now you can pick. Now you can pick
Jaden,
one.
don't you?
No,
now you pick.
I know exactly. I know Coach Jay like the back of my hand. You can pick one now.
All right, so I'm going to pick one, but I want to add to what Coach Jay said, talking about the wide receivers real quick. Go let Nico have a Heisman campaign. You may get a flip at the end of the year. Signing day is not until December 21st.
That's right.
You go ahead and let Nico go have a Heisman campaign. Go have another Bolitnikoff Award winner.
Yep.
Look out for a flip. That's all I'm
Mhm.
saying. That's all I'm saying, because it happens year after year after year. You'll have these couple guys that they want to go be a part of. They want to go be a part of that. Yes, they may have committed to this, but this team is going off in the right direction. They got a QB that's going to be there for 2 more years, and they got, all the talent, all the NIL available that is still going to be there for an offer. If I think about flipping. Well, there's a roster spot here for you. Here you go. And I think that's only with Caleb Cunningham and Jamie French. I think those two you would take without a doubt. So, and then going back to the player, is Brain going to be here this weekend?
Yes.
That's who I want to talk about. I'm an offensive guy. Deshaun Brain, I think he would be a perfect fit to go along with Van Dorslayer. It goes as far as the Tennessee staff saying he's the only tight end in the country they would pair with him, because they balance each other's skills out perfectly. Jack, he's a little longer. He's a little more physical, can flex out and stuff. This kid is quicker, a little more stocky, is probably, I'd say, a little better route runner at this point. But this, I would say these two, if you compare these two together to go with the wide receivers we got in the court at GMAC, and then get an offensive line of David Sanders, Josh Petty, Big Ant, and maybe one more offensive lineman, Nick Moore or Utu. You pair them together, that offensive class is elite. And then maybe add Mills Knight at running back. You got an elite offensive class on your
Everybody's high on Mills Knight. I think he's a guy that you're going to see his evaluations go
He'll
up
be
to.
4-star by the end of the cycle.
Yeah, I think he's going up too. This is the guy that's on my radar for this weekend, and really more than anything, it just pisses me off, man. It pisses me off. This is a dude that loves him some Tennessee. He loves him some Coach Garner, and people want to look at the industry rankings and they want to say 3-star U and all that nonsense. Just like the commitment from this morning, people saying, "Oh, well, on 3 is more accurate." And guess what? For Rodney Garner to take that commitment this morning tells me all I need to know, because there is some elite talent at the edge position that's going to be in town this weekend. So for him to say, "Hey, I'm going to take Jaden Lofton's commitment before these guys come in town," that tells me he likes what he sees in Jaden Lofton. And then again, how convenient that we see the boost in rankings after he commits to Tennessee. But Charles House is a guy that Rodney Garner likes. Rodney Garner has prioritized. On 3 does have him as a 4-star, the industry rankings as a 3-star. But it just bothers me, man. It bothers me that Tennessee offered September of last year. They were in it early. It was Tennessee, Georgia. Everything was screaming Tennessee. And then he takes the visit to Alabama. And what did he say coming out of it? He likes
Alabama's my leader now.
Bama's my leader. Then what does he do? He takes a visit to Georgia. What does he say coming out of that? Now it's an Alabama-Georgia battle. So I think getting him on campus, and again, he's going to make his decision on the 22nd. Tennessee gets the final visit this weekend. He's going to take a week off. He's going to think about it, going to pray about it, going to talk with his family, and then make that decision on the 22nd. And again, we'll be live covering that commitment from Charles House on June the 22nd. But what's funny is I had Deshaun Brame in my notes to talk about. I had Charles House in my notes to talk about, and I knew exactly who Coach Jay wanted to talk about, so I didn't bother putting him in my notes because I knew Coach Jay was going to take it away. Who are you going to have your eyes on this weekend, Coach Jay?
Click on him, Mr. Smith. There we go. For those who remember the live film breakdown with me and Rocky Top Tom, this was the kid that I paired against Juan Gaston. And gosh, dang it, I'm happy I did, because he's probably the only kid in the class that could have beaten Juan Gaston in that spot, or someone like a David Sanders, because he's that elite, guys. This is a kid that will 100% be a 5-star by the end of this recruiting cycle. Make no mistake about it. This kid's got all the tools. And listen, like Coach Rice was saying, this thing goes to December, right? So this is a kid that's going to get to see the Pierce put in that work, right? He's going to get to see Ross come in as a freshman. He's going to get to see all these wonderful edge players play at Tennessee, and he's a kid that I'm fully confident in. If we can get this kid in, I think we have the ability to put 3 straight edge rushers in top 10 positions in the NFL draft, which is the definition of edge rusher U. If we're able to pull this, if we put this kid into our class after putting Jaden Lofton in the class, and you talk about kids like, Herring, West, Pierce, Jordan Ross. That's an edge position lineup that the Georgia Bulldogs would kill to have. Make no mistake about it. It would be second to absolute none in the country if we could pull this kid in. He's an absolute difference maker. He's a kid who can beat any offensive tackle the other team has. Just an absolute wrecker. Strong, fast, athletic. Got all the tools. There's another one of them. There you go on the screen. James Pierce, Josephs, Caleb Herring, of course, Sean Davian Bradley, that's moved on. You can kind of get curious there. Also, Lindstrom, Jane Lofton, Jamal Wallace, kid we're all kind of high on. I think he's going to end up kind of being a Tyler Barron type that, that can play that weak side DN or also slide inside from time to time. So Jamal Wallace is going to be interesting. And then, of course, why am I missing the name, guys? The kid that we got that played in the London Football League that we switched over from offensive side of the field to defensive end this year.
Oh my
Hadn't
gosh!
played football before.
Why am I losing? Why?
Yeah, I know. I can't think of it right now either. But
crap, I'm losing it.
I'm looking it up because it's just going to kill me if I.
Okoye.
Yes, there you go.
Okoye, yeah. Shout out
Okoye.
Arkball. Yeah, shout out Arkball. Emmanuel Okoye. By every single person's account has more strength and athleticism than anyone on the team. Forget about anything else, right? So, man, that's just a loaded spot for Tennessee, an embarrassment of wealth. On the edge there, on the squeeze. So, we'll see, man. We'll see.
It drives me nuts when people say that Josh Heupel can't recruit, that he doesn't land elite level talent. He's already signed more 5-stars than any coach after Phil Fulmer. That's already happened. And we're going into year 4. He's already signed more 5-stars than anybody else. Then you look at this list right here. Jordan Ross, James Pierce. They're just a couple of 5-star edge rushers from signing more 5-star edge rushers than total 5-star prospects that Butch Jones, Derek Dooley, Jeremy Pruitt. Like, Josh Heupel is recruiting better than he probably should have. Josh Heupel is doing a great job on the recruiting trail. Now, am I satisfied? Am I ready to sit back and say, that's it, the baby's born, we're done? No, we got to take another step. We have to recruit at an elite level. Like Coach Rice said, I think it's very funny that you guys said the same thing in 2 different ways. Coach Rice said an average of 8. Coach Jay said, 2 years ago on this channel, you got to be the top 10 3 years out of a 4-year cycle. 1 year out of that 4-year cycle, you got to be top 5. That's going to average out somewhere around 8. And I think both of you guys are spot on. If you're going to compete at an elite level, I think Coach Heupel can outcoach some guys out there, but you have to have elite talent. It's a combination of Jimmys and Joes and X's and O's, but you definitely got to have those Jimmys and Joes. Corey Smith been a member for 19 months. Shout out, Corey. We appreciate that. He also drops a $10 super chat. Nothing to say, just a tip in the old tip jar. Shout out, Corey. We appreciate it, brother. Let's kind of tie a big fat bow on this weekend's visitors with the headliner, with the main event. And that's David Sanders, 5-star offensive tackle. I've said it time and time again on this channel that I think he is going to be, whether we say we won in the class of 25 or we lost in the class of 25. I don't think people are going to look at rankings. I think they're going to look at whether or not we land David Sanders. He says George McIntyre and Tavion St. Clair have been on me harder than some of the coaches. George is peer recruiting. I've said it, and I'm going to keep saying I'm going to beat that dead horse. George was playing chess. Everybody else playing checkers. George was recruiting David Sanders to play together. When he was at Alabama, when he was at Georgia, when he was at Tennessee, it wasn't about going to that school. It was about playing together. And now he has built that relationship. He has built that bond. I was listening to the VolQuest podcast. It was a very interesting conversation with so many guys coming in town. This coaching staff's going to be stretched thin the next 2 weekends because they're not going to be able to get around to everybody and make everybody feel like a priority. And they talked about how, hey, George needs to do that. George needs to make David Sanders feel like the priority. He's already taken his visits to Clemson and Georgia, Tennessee this weekend. Obviously, he's going to take a midweek visit to Alabama. That doesn't matter if they're not a factor. Does it bother you, Coach Jay, that Ohio State, who he mentions here, he mentions George and he mentions the Ohio State kid, does it bother you that Ohio State's getting that last visit on June the 21st?
Yeah, of course it does. I think we all kind of have a sting in our mouth from Ohio State over Tate. And just in general, they're just one of those schools that have been closing at a high tick. I think it's the same reason we're bugged, by Perry over at Florida State. And then you can go all the way back to Mount Go at Miami as well for that same situation, right? So it just kind of feels eerily similar in that regard. Although I think in the Tate situation, if I'm not mistaken, the Vols did get the last visit there. I think he kind of showed up. If I'm not mistaken, there's that picture of him with Heupel. But
wasn't that at the baseball game? Was that the last visit?
Yeah,
that was
I think
unofficial.
He, like,
that
flew
was
in.
coming.
He just kind of like flew in on.
That one
on a
still
whim.
stings. And you know what bothers me is that my stupid voice was in his commitment to Ohio State. That really bothers me. Sorry, go ahead.
But I think we've got everything that Ohio State's got to offer, certainly. And, if Coach Jay is selling to David Sanders, my pitch is, number one, the quarterbacks are better here, right? That's number one, right? Tennessee's got the better quarterbacking unit, and that's what offense linemen want to do is get in there and play. For a solid quarterback, you've got a great relationship with George McIntyre. You got talent in front of him in spades. You got talent behind him that's going to be coming in spades. We talked about this wide receiver depth, and I know they got all the wide receivers at Ohio State too. But listen, sometimes when you have a program like Ohio State, things have gotten a little stagnant over time, right? And sometimes I get that feeling about them. Sometimes I wonder if Ohio State's in a must-win year in a way, right? Like, how many years are they going to give that head coach to get over that hump? How many years is Ohio State fans going to put up with a 10, 11 win season and not bring one home? How many times are they going to be the Georgia Bulldogs before Kirby came to Georgia, right? And to me, and I'm not saying that Day won't get over that hump. He very well could. He very well could be sitting on that team right now, but how many years is that going to happen? My feeling on it is, hey, look, David, the quarterbacks are at Tennessee. This is a family environment, and you're going to be special. No one's going to love you like the Tennessee family will. You're going to be a volunteer for life, not just another name, not just another kid that's processed through in the last 20 years amongst, 50 others. You're going to be something special. You're going to be part of that groundwork foundation that hoisted a national championship.
How big does it get? Darnell Wright, top 10 draft pick. Lance Hurd. What does Lance Hurd do at Tennessee? If you get David Sanders to Tennessee, what does he do? And then you can start talking about, and you talking about Ohio State and how they're hot on the recruiting trail, but the proof is in the pudding. They put so many guys into the league. What happens when Tennessee is regularly putting guys into the league? I think that's when you really start to have that success on the recruiting trail. It's not, everybody wants to say it's all about money. Sometimes it is, and sometimes it's not. But how you feeling about David Sanders, Coach Rice, going into the weekend?
As of right now, I'd say he's a Tennessee lean. But you got some big dogs up there in that battle, man. You got Georgia, you got Ohio State. I think Clemson and Alabama are on the back burners trying to catch up. I think it's between us, Georgia, and Ohio State. And, anytime you have them two in there, you have to throw caution in the wind. So, but just thinking the relationships that he talks about in every interview that he's had with Austin Price or Matt Ray. That's one of the biggest things he talks about, his relationships with Josh Heupel, Coach Ellerby, and GMAC. That's I think that's the key that gets us over the hump. Did we have those relationships with key guys like Mauagoa? Did we have those relationships in other situations? You got to remember, Mauagoa, what year were we in? We were in year 2?
Yep.
Year 2 under
Yeah.
Lane.
Yep.
That's a whole different game. When Nico and him were in the same class, weren't they?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
But the difference is what you're talking about with relationships. Nico got guys interested, whereas I think George has legitimate, authentic. And it's not because Nico didn't put in the work. Nico was flying out here every freaking week, right, in peer recruiting. But I don't think he had those true, deep relationships like George has.
And they're all in the Southeast, and they spend so much time there. You say it all the time. He's playing chess when everyone else is playing checkers. They know something. Well, there's too many dominoes that have fallen that is just pointing in the direction that David Sanders is a secret vol commit. I want to.
I hope
wood
so.
right now. I'm knocking on some wood right now.
Or they're just confident that he
But
is
they're
going to
just
choose
very
Tennessee.
confident. They know something, and GMAC knows something, that they're bringing these guys in together for a reason, and they're trying to pull in more 5-stars. You've seen it, and that's another thing with Shady Hayward. I think Shady Hayward's still a vol. I think he's either trolling or he's just building his name by doing certain things. But David Sanders, it can't be said enough. And you've said it a gazillion times. I've said it a gazillion times. Coach Jay said it a gazillion times. The most important player, I think, in the last 3 classes, other than Nico, because Nico's your cornerstone
Cindy Mancini.
quarterback. Yeah.
What he's about to do, what Nico's about to do in the fall, is going to make him the most important guy.
Yeah.
In Josh Heupel's entire career at Tennessee, it's on Nico's back, and he has to go out and succeed, because you were just talking about it with look, guys are going to flip. Guys are going to flip. There's going to be evals that are late in kids' senior seasons. You're going to have an opportunity to go get guys. So much pressure is on Nico. Like, I don't think there's anybody in the country that has more pressure than that kid, and that's why I love this quote.
No, I know what I came here to do, and it's my job to go and get that done.
Short and
Cooler
sweet.
than the cool side of the pillow.
Him and Coach Jay are built from the same cloth.
California.
A couple of those Tennessee kids panic. We don't. It's not legalized here like it is out in California.
You ever seen that 80s movie Can't Buy Me Love, where he like buys that girl's dress to date him, and he's like a nerdy guy and it makes him popular? Sometimes I think that's kind of like what Josh Heupel did with Nico. He was like, I'm going to buy this popular girl a nice dress and then have her date me, and then everyone's going to think I'm cool and want to come to Tennessee.
It worked.
So,
I
hey,
said
man,
that
80s
entire
movie Can't Buy
time.
Me Love.
That entire time after Nico committed, I kept saying it's Tennessee's sexy again. Tennessee's cool again. Tennessee's fun again. The pictures with the Mercedes and the dark mode and all that stuff that Nico did, he made Tennessee cool again. There's no question. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. That is a fact. Now he's got to go prove it on the field, and I think that's when we can possibly take that next step in recruiting. This has been an absolute blast. We got 250 people watching live on a Wednesday night in June. Guess what? The baseball team's about to go to Omaha and try to win themselves a national championship, but you guys want to jump on here and talk Tennessee football recruiting. So shout out to you guys. We appreciate all the support. We're going to be live next Wednesday, same bat time, same bat channel right here, 7 p.m. Eastern time. We're going to kind of wrap up this weekend of recruiting and then look ahead to June 21st, because June 21st is another big weekend of official visits, and we're also right around the corner from the commitment from Charles House. So make sure you guys are dialed in and ready for that. Rocky Top Tom's been a member for 17 months. Says only members get free chats. Using mine to say big. Wait, he said what?
To be the man, you gotta beat the man, and I'm saying, woo, right here.
That's hilarious, because I didn't even read the rest of that when I played it. He says, I can't stress enough how badly we need Sanders and Hayward in this class. Sanders is a ball boogie. Can I get the Nature Boy? I didn't even know you said that when I played it. Bad Quality, been a member for 10 months. Shout out Bad Quality. We appreciate you guys. We love you guys. I say it all the time. This channel is for the fans, by the fans. It's also fan funded. The only way that I'm able to do this, it's not off of ad revenue. Let me tell you a little secret. YouTube ad revenue is not paying my bills right now. It's you guys, your generosity, your super chats, your membership. So I am grateful for the way that you guys support this channel and give me the opportunity to get on here and do this every single day. We're trying to build the best community for Tennessee Vol football. I don't care if somebody passes us in subscribers. I don't care what their gimmick is. I don't care what their schemes and scams are. I want to have the best community for Tennessee Vol football, and I think we got it. I think we have it right here on the Talkin VAWLS network. I've banned a lot of idiots. And they float around on other YouTube channels and talk about what a prick I am and how I do this and say that and did this and said that. I don't care, because I would rather have a bunch of people that love Tennessee football the way that I do, the way that Coach Jay does, the way that Coach Rice does, and I think that's what we are building. Michelle drops a $20 super chat. Nothing to say. Just a tip in the old tip jar. Shout out to Michelle. We appreciate it. We'll play the clip for you.
Rocky Top, you'll always be.
Also, Nicholas for 2 says only members pay to get signed Boog merchandise. Nicholas spent way too much money for me to buy a Tennessee mini helmet. I got it. It's upstairs. It's not this one. Do you want me to sign this one, Nicholas? I mean, if you want me to sign this one, I'll put that there as a troll. Nelson's at church, so it didn't work because Nelson wasn't in the chat tonight. I put that there just to troll. But yeah, I've got Nicholas. I ordered a mini helmet. I'm gonna devalue it by writing my stupid name on it. I got to order your shirt. Got some stuff coming your way soon, Nicholas. The move's wrapped up. The adoption's wrapped up. I can get back to business as usual. But don't forget, Tuesday night, 6:30 p.m. Eastern time, we're going to play some NCAA football at 7 o'clock. 7 o'clock next week. We are going to launch the Patreon. If you want to be a part of the EA Sports College Football Dynasty, you have to be a member at that tier for the Patreon. It'll go live at 7, and I think I'm going to auction off, because Retro's already wanting to pay a bunch of money. I think I'm going to auction off the first pick and the second pick, maybe the third. We'll play it by ear. Who gets to pick their team first? We're going to auction those off. We'll see if we get to 3, 6, 9. I don't know. I don't know how many we're going to auction off. I'm going last, and I'm picking App State. Cannot wait. It's going to be a blast. These two guys, guess what? They can't auction their team. They're picking last with me. So make sure you guys are here next Tuesday. Wednesday night, we'll talk recruiting. Who you taking, USC?
They ain't going to be available.
I'm going to troll everybody and picking them. That would be funny.
It would be funny.
It would be
funny,
funny.
but I guarantee you they won't be available.
We only get 30.
Pick them up by then.
That's true.
Yeah,
There only be 32.
There's only 32 people.
Yeah, you figure the SEC and the Big Ten teams, though, those are going to be.
I'm picking dead last. I'm picking dead last. I'll let you guys can fight it out, rock, paper, scissors. I don't know if the X Factor has a PS5. I'm saving a spot for him. I say 4 spots, the 3 of us, and then one other person, and then everything else is going to people in the chat. So you guys better be here Tuesday night at 7 o'clock when that thing goes live, because I think it's going to go fast. But we'll see what happens. We'll auction off Retro. We'll see how much money we can milk him out of to pick Georgia first, because if he doesn't, I'm taking Georgia, and he doesn't get him. And I'm going to lose every single game. All right, enough shenanigans. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Love talking recruiting with you guys. We'll do it again next Wednesday at 7 o'clock. Go check out the Talkin VAWLS merchandise, bonfire.com/store/Talkin VAWLS. You can see I'm a client. Sometimes I wear my own merchandise. Sometimes I do. But we love you guys. We appreciate you guys. That's going to do it for this one. For Coach Jay, for Coach Rice, my name's Boogie Bentley. This is the Talkin VAWLS Network. Go Big Orange.
The songs how like being poets at an arcade, soaking moonlit falls, unbroken past this inundated orb that we call